Hello, happy Monday, everybody. My name is Chelsea. I'm with Adapt AI Group. Today we have an exciting guest speaker. Matt Fain is our co-founder and a CEO of a really innovative company called PopCapacity. Really exciting stuff going on there. I'm excited we were able to steal Matt for 30 minutes here today to learn about his company and just what they're doing in the marketplace that's so innovative. So we're going to jump in, take about 20 or 30 minutes, and we'll just kind of talk through your company and some of those really cool things that's going on today. If you don't mind, why don't we just start? If you could give us your background of yourself and your company.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Charlie. So my name is Matt Fain. I'm the co-founder and CEO of PopCapacity. I'm a supply chain logistics veteran, if you would. I've been in the industry for a little bit over a decade, so not quite as long as a lot of other folks, but definitely have experienced a lot and seen it go through a lot of evolution. The company was started based on a pain point. So I personally was tasked with the challenge of finding warehouse space when the resources were Google and emails and phone calls. In a modern world, it seemed very, very cumbersome and antiquated. So we rolled out something as simple as a marketplace for warehouse space, call it an Airbnb for warehouses, if you would. That was in 2020. Fast forward to 2025, we've added some cool AI, we've added some intent-based stuff. It's been a really cool journey and evolution as we've gotten mature and just grown up as a company. So it's been a very exciting time for sure.
That's awesome. So founded in 2020 then, around
Yeah,
about.
Early March, onset of
Oh,
pandemic is when I
oh,
decided it was
nice.
a good idea to stop what I was doing and start a
Yeah.
brand new company. 50-50 if it was a good idea or not, but we're still here to tell about it.
Yeah.
But the digital aspect of what we were doing really it boded well for the industry at that time. People
Right.
needed warehouse space, but people were not getting on planes to go look at them. And
Right.
that's when I realized that if I can go book 3 bedroom, 2 bath, dog can come, pool, beachside, and see everything about it, I can understand the color of the toilet seat if I wanted to. I had that level of visibility, but when it came to an important part of the supply chain, like warehousing, distribution centers, fulfillment centers, cross
Right.
docks, transload sites, it was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You had to
Mm-hmm.
go through multiple levels of discovery, and all that was time. And it sounds cliche, but time is money. And
Yes.
in logistics and supply chain, especially, there's so many different tasks going on. Procurement and manual procurement of warehouse space did not seem to be
Mm-hmm.
modern in a modern world.
I love that. It's I'll kind of segue here, a little personal story, but even just this past weekend, we had a little reunion with friends. My husband and I were both in the Marine Corps for a while, and so an old Marine buddy came in with his girlfriend. She's a startup in the construction industry, and she was talking about needing warehouse space. I was like, what a coincidence! We have a call tomorrow related to this.
Everybody does. It's
Yeah,
wild, and you don't
yeah,
know it until you get into it and
I
think about
know.
any and every application. I mean, that's what we've seen. The visibility and the data we get from the platform tells that story. It's like it is for your Nike looking for a brand new 3PL fulfillment center or a startup that doesn't
Right.
really know what to do and needs some guidance,
Mm.
a flavor for every style of business. So it's really cool to see what the data tells us.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So one of the questions that we get asked a lot is how are businesses retaining their clients in such a tough economy, especially now, right? You started up during COVID, and so much has changed since then. So, prices increasing, more competition, AI, all the things, right? So, with that environment, what are some of the things that your company is doing to retain the clients that you do get? As well as how are you finding those new clients to make sure you keep that competitive edge?
Right? One and the same. We focus a lot on the use of technology and understanding who the buyer is and what they may be looking for. So I use social media as an example. So look at TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're scrolling on those devices because they keep us interested, whether it be the products, the services, the people that we're connected with. They pique our interest and it keeps us engaged. Now look at this in a B2B, specifically to supply chain. So you've got the chief supply chain officer of Clorox companies, and you've got the chief supply chain officer of Nike. Same industry, similar categories in CPG, but they're completely different buyers. Things that interest them are two completely different things. So understanding that, and luckily we have a platform that can pick up on some of these attributes and some of these unique data points that make them unique as a buyer. Understanding who they are and what they're looking for is everything. I've been in sales for a long time. It's all about timing, persistence, right? But if we had the tools and data and information saying, hey, this is what that chief supply chain officer at Clorox would traditionally look for, whether it be hazmat warehousing, hazmat trucking, maybe different kinds of packaging that go towards his specific commodity group, it would make a better, more authentic buying experience. So you get the customer acquisition faster because you're authentic and you're showing them things that they need to see and they wanting to see, right?
Mhm.
But you maintain the customer by always understanding where they're evolving to as a person, as a buyer. Because companies all go through evolutions throughout time. What they like now is not what they're going to like 5 years from now.
Right.
But able to adapt to that is key. And in order to adapt, you have to use the data and the signals that they're giving you through interaction in the platform. Traditionally, this is done manually, right? Through conversations and building trust and listening to their kids' soccer tournament that they have. And I think that still is very, very, very important. Or you having that conversation with the right person.
Right.
We go through all of these conversations sometimes to find out that it's not a great fit, and that's okay. But why did I spend a week and a half going through 2 different discovery calls and maybe possibly a site tour just to realize that it wasn't going to be the right fit? There were a dozen other people I could have spoken to that added value to my day. And that's not to mean that I didn't want to meet that person or have that conversation. That just means that maybe that conversation is set for outside of business hours, right? Because we have to be as productive as possible with the limited amount of time.
Right.
So.
No, that's so true. And I know in past, podcasts, you've talked a lot about really leaning into sales and loving it, right? And that it kind of highlights the people side of the business too. The social media definitely catches the attention, but then, that people side, the interactions are still definitely critical. And that kind of shifts to, the topic of AI and how do you juggle bringing in all this automation while still maintaining that people side of the business, because automation can replace a lot of it. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you hear this all the time, especially now that AI is so relevant in our community. Are doing their essays using Chat GPT. So it's very interesting how we're using it. I think humans, and we're always going to find this, is like humanizing the experience is going to be everything. Technology gets us to the person that we need to interact with to create that companionship, that relationship, that partnership, right? But in order to get there, we had to pick up data points. And once again, that was manual. That was a dozen phone calls with discoveries calls and meetings with various different solution providers just to award one. I think we can accelerate that, have a better experience if we just start understanding what options are available, right? Without it having to be a Google search away or a trade show meetup. There's ways that we can say, hey, look, here's all the things that are available, and based on who you are, these are things we're going to start picking up. And that's going to be the use of AI, right? And just doing more than weighted matching algorithm, right? I think that's one thing people get confused a lot with. It's more intuitive than that, right? It's multiple applications, multiple different thought processes going on at one time. I think as we start to fine tune that, especially in supply chain's unique. It's traditionally antiquated. It's very good old boy, hear what we say in the South.
Yeah.
Right? Good old boy type environment, salted earth, relationship driven. And I think those are the ones that are going to be very resistant with it. But they're the ones that would get the most benefit out of it. You need more time in the day, right? These small business owners, the owner operators that are warehouse owners, and the sales guy, and the marketing person, and the chief financial officer. Something has to give, right? You can't sustain that type of velocity all the time. But maybe cleaning up your conversations, identifying who's the best fit for the conversation, and then go with that one. Because then that reduces the amount of churn, right? If you really find something and it starts off with intention and data backing that intention, I feel like the journey and the length of time that you'll be partnered.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely explained those competitive advantages for leaning into AI and kind of what you're saying with the good old boy, kind of a little bit more old school with the supply chain logistics industry, I'd say. So I love to see that your company is light years ahead. Leaning into AI, it's all over your social. It's very clear that you're implementing and adopting. What would you say are some of the risks for those companies that are fearful or scared to take the jump to leap into AI?
Going to get
Yeah.
there's processes and steps that AI is going to replace that take you weeks, months, right? Take warehouse procurement. To run a warehouse RFP takes 2 to 3 weeks. We're using technology and having all the information nested into a nice procurement platform. You're now able to take that RFP from several weeks to a couple days because the information is there. You didn't have to go search and seek for it. If we're using the AI correctly, it's also doing more than just searching and seeking. It's also matching compatibility from personality types, matching certain elements about this warehouse that you may have. It may have been an oversight. You may have struck it off with that owner and had a great conversation. Your kids are both into football and that's your commonality. That's going to sway your decision a little bit. There's data points and information that may be an indicator it's not a good fit. I just really like this conversation, this guy. But I think it's a lot, and you're seeing it from a lot of large enterprises now. They're training their people and trying to get their leadership to understand how to educate new employees. How do you get and retain the employees you have and let them know that technology is beneficial? It's not a distractor. It's not this new fancy thing that's not going to work. It is something that is implemented in our common everyday lives right now. It is ingrained in us right now, unfortunately. It offers a ton of convenience, a ton of visibility, and we give these platforms tons of data. Now they're just using it for our convenience.
Right. Yeah, 100%, especially with the employee side. You mentioned starts with the leadership, right? And I think that's absolutely critical. If you can't just launch it and say, here's this new system, use it, good luck. You have to lead through it. And I think a lot of times that fear from the leadership, it starts with the leadership. You got to start top down and implement it yourself and understand it, and then really help with that change management side of it. I know we're, probably a couple minutes left for some questions here. I really just want to talk about the future. You've been open for, you launched 5 years ago, and you've already seen a huge shift, I'm sure, from COVID times to now, and especially in this last year, we've seen AI just explode. It's everywhere, and it's not going away. What do you think it looks like another 3 to 5 years from now?
It is going to.
We might even need to narrow it down to a year from now because it's just growing so
Yeah, it
fast.
could be as soon as 24 months. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be wildly different. I think there's going to be a lot of consolidation in roles. We'll start seeing that certain roles can be consolidated and certain people can be repurposed to certain areas. Procurement in itself or searching and trying to discovering for things is going to change. It's going to be very interesting to see how certain industries adapt to it. Specifically supply chain with the old school mentality, the tried and true type processes that are in place, letting the leadership understanding that once again, it is going to be beneficial. It is not a deterrence. It is not a distractor. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's something that we have to use in order to excel. I think we're going to see that more companies are going to bring on technology to attract employees and talent.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is people do not want to go into a warehouse and walk 10 miles a day, right? That's just not something that someone's raising their hand at the job fair saying, I want to be a warehouse walker and walk hundreds of miles a year. There's going to have to be something different. They have to be managing automation, right? Orchestrating with robotics in the warehouse. From a procurement perspective, no one likes running RFP. It's a very manual, cumbersome process that is an annual thing, sometimes multiple times a year. Make that a smarter, better process. I think people will start adapting to it, but there's going to be some frustration in the naysayers. I think those will start getting left. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting transition, interesting time.
Yeah.
And I see my kids using Chat GPT for all sorts of different things other than being productive. If they're using it, I think it's time for us to start understanding how to incorporate that. They're not family. So
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned kids. My daughter's all about it. You design images, and it just kind of gets the creative flow going. So it's fun to see her leaning into it, and she's only 9. So yeah, I can only imagine.
world too, right? And it's just one of the things where our 9-year-olds are using it
Yeah,
to create sunset pictures and changing and editing certain things that they're photographs and images. It's wild. What they're gonna do when they're 18,
right.
going into college. What is the technology going to be there? It's not going to be just chat GPT. It's going to be
No.
something wildly different. And I think a lot of it's going to be all intent based. Who our kids are, what journey and information that they were able to gather through their technology interaction throughout the course of their lives.
Hmm.
All of our kids are unfortunately have been around this forever. This, I wasn't born with that, right? I was kind of in that generation where it's like, all right, well, half my life I didn't have anything. My life's like, wow, I have all the technology at my fingertips.
Yeah.
So we understand what it used to look like. I'm not going to understand what it used to look like.
Mm-mm.
This is the normal. So got to go from there. We got to make businesses understand that technology is the normal, implement it, integrate it.
Right.
I call it social sustainability, right? You're just times and keeping generations coming into the industry and trade and making sure that they're happy in the industry and trade. So
Yeah, and a lot of these tools too, like GPT, like you mentioned, they're free, right? Like there's all these free resources out there that you can just be, dipping your toe in just to get exposure to learn. So when you actually find the platforms that are even smarter than those free options, it's mind blowing what's available out there already.
the more we interact in it, the more we feed the
Yeah,
beast, the more data we give it, and the better it becomes. So,
yep, absolutely.
interesting.
And you mentioned something that I think is key here, that there's a lot of people have that fear that AI is going to just replace the need for people. And to a degree, sure. But a lot of companies that we talk to, at least, that's not their goal. Their goal isn't to bring AI in to replace and to cut teams. Can you? Sure. Like that, of course, that is an option. But most people, like you said, you use the word repurpose. Most people want to repurpose and shift what those people were working on and grow and expand in a different way with that team instead of replacing them with AI. So I think that's a key point here, that when companies start to demonstrate that that's how they're going to use AI, I think some of that fear factor will go away over time, hopefully.
So it's just a new fancy thing that, anything that's new, right? Anything that's new, there's kind of that doubt in your head,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not tried and true. We haven't done it for time and time and time again. But as companies who are picking up the technology start outpacing the ones who haven't, we'll start seeing a really big shift and change. And I think the champions within those organizations, the ones who are having to use the new technologies, you're the champion for that. You have a really good career, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be able to adapt and repurpose the AI in different applications that maybe you started off with procurement, but if you go into demand planning or something to that nature, right? It's
Right.
gonna be very interesting how city generation is incorporated throughout time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of time, I do want to be respectful of your time here and start to wrap it up. Any final words you want to say?
Yeah, no, I mean, just if you're ever looking for warehouse space of any kind, any shape, any size, any location in the world, definitely check out PopCapacity. We're the easiest, fastest way to go find warehouse capacity. We've got 2,000 facilities, about a 260 million square foot across the globe. So check it out. It's free. It's easy. We're rolling out some new techie features in the next 6 months that is going to change the supply chain again. So stay
Love
tuned.
it. Awesome. Well, thank you. I love what you guys are doing. It's the future, right? You look at Airbnb and it's needed in business too for warehouses. And my personal connection, I already sent her your website and said, hey, take a look at this, because I love what they're doing and you have a need and they can solve it.
Love it. Let us help. Let us help for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Matt, and you best of luck with everything in the future. Talk to you soon.
Likewise.